Good afternoon, everybody. Can I just do a brief introduction for those who are joining us online? Just to remind you, the usual rules will apply. If you could please remain muted until you are asked to speak. And then once you have been asked to speak, you can unmute yourself, make whatever comment or ask whatever question you want to do. And then if you can put yourself back on mute, can you please ensure that your camera remains on at all times because you need to have your face visible throughout the meeting. If you do want to speak, can you please indicate by raising the electronic hand on the screen and then put that down once you've been invited to speak. We will try and keep an eye on you to make sure that if you have any intervention to make, we will call you in the same order as we see you and the people in the chamber. If you do, for any reason, drop out or have to leave, can you please let us know that that's happened? We will be relying on you to be aware that you can't vote on any matter where you haven't heard the entirety of the debate. When it comes to the recommendations, I will ask each of you in turn to just tell me how you are voting on that issue, and then your votes will be recorded alongside those of the people in the chamber. Yes, so Mr. Mayor, if I can hand over to you, I think the only thing that I am being asked to raise is Councillor Gibbs, the background that you have, that is causing concern. Are you able to change that background, please?
Why is it causing concern, Carly?
There are a number of people who are raising with me that that is a sensitive flag at this time. And if you are able just to change your background, that will avoid that being a further cause for concern.
No, there is no cause of concern, just because I got a flag on my background rather than anything else.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Gibbs. Mr. Mayor, if you would like to start the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Caris. Put on our so good afternoon. Welcome to the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Full Council meeting on today, Wednesday, the 21st of February, 2024. Please note that this meeting has been recorded and may be broadcast by the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence.
Jeremy Davis.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Councillor Lee Davis.
An interest in item agenda 18 as I work for Wellbeing Merthyr.
Okay, thank you. Councillor David Hughes.
Item number 4, I have a child in on SGO, so I will declare interest.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle Jones.
I'd like to declare an interest in item 11, Mr. Mayor, and also in the closed session, item 18, the Wellbeing Merthyr update, as I'm on the board of trustees. I do have dispensation, though, to speak and vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Claire Jones, is that the same? Yeah.
Thank
okay,
you.
the same as Councillor Jones on the. Okay. Thank you. And Councillor Michelle Simmons.
A report, the one that was brought a couple of weeks ago, and therefore I will be leaving the debate.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No. Agenda item number 3, minutes of previous meetings, items 3A to 3K, to approve as accurate minutes of the meetings. Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Can I move the reports, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrew Barry.
Happy saying.
Okay, thank you. Can we take that to a vote then, please?
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining, please?
For.
Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining, please?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Thomas there. We've got that vote now. Thank you. That's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So agenda item number 4. And just wait for Councillor Hughes. Okay, so item 4 is fostering policies report. consider the report of the Chief Officer Social Services, and Councillor Julie Jenkins is taking this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the Fostering Policies Report. The author, Joanne Llewellyn, is with us this evening for any further questions. The summary report. This report provides council with policies required by the Foster Wales team that need to be approved for the department to be compliant with the Fostering Regulations 2018. The report outlines the reason for the reports and policies. Merthyr Tydfil Fostering Service is one of 22 in Wales. Jo Llewellyn, the new head of Children's Services, has significant experience in providing a foster care service and has worked with a team to review all policies. Due to elimination of profit from the children's care agenda, high-quality fostering services are vital to enable the return of children to their home local authority and to increase numbers of in-house foster carers. Listed in the report on pages 50 to 52 are the updated policies that required Council's approval. The policies being shared with the Independent Reviewing Officer, team managers in children's services, education, health, finance and others as appropriate per policy. And can I just confirm that the dates for the implementing these policies will be March 24th and reviewed internally in March 25. Any differences in dates on these policies shown today will be amended before adding to the intranet. And there are limited financial implications for these policies. I go to recommendations that the policies be implemented in March 2024 be approved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle Jones.
Happy to second the report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to questions, I must apologise. There was a notice of motion previous to that, but that's been removed and that's not being discussed at this meeting. So apologies for not mentioning that earlier. So now we'll go to questions on this report, please. No questions. So can we go on to comments then, please? Councillor Geraint Thomas.
No, I think it's an excellent report, Joanne, and pleased that we have you in post. The fostering service is a huge must for Merthyr Tydfil children, and as you say, eliminating profit, we bring more people back into the borough. So, well done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? No, so we'll take it to a vote then, please.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Thomas, thank you. That's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll move on to agenda item number 5, 2024 to 25 fees and charges to consider the report of the Chief Executive, and that's Councillor Andrew Barry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 24-25 fees and charges. Members of the Chamber have previously approved and introduced fees and charges policy. Through investigation, we have subsequently found the function was decentralised and has shown it has been applied inconsistently. Prices were lower than other comparable authorities. We did not charge for services compared to other local authorities. The mechanisms we used were underdeveloped and needed to be updated, urgently updated. It was also found that across the authority, some fees and charges have not been increased, and that non-adherence to policy decisions made by members in this chamber, and that just goes against the heart of the democratic process. We tasked Liam, our Chief Finance Officer, and the Commercial Manager, Procurement, and our payments team to ensure we have an effective, centralised, controlled register of fees and charges to be introduced now and for the benefit of this authority for years to come. All authorities publish fees and charges on their websites, and it was by a benchmarking exercise with predominantly RCT, Blaenau Gwent, particularly Flintshire published information, that this report is based. It's important to recognise that maximum income is not the overarching objective here. Some services will never be fully cost recoverable because of the impact on our residents. However, we do have to strike a balance between affordability and reasonableness of charging to make the best of public funds and protect services that may be unsustainable without an effective cost recovery mechanism in place. Section 5, members will find the details of some anomalies that we propose will be changed over and above the Consumer Price Index, the rate being at 4.5%. These increases relate to cemeteries, non-statutory pre-planning inquiries, registrar fees, highways and engineering, and lifeline. In reality, our benchmarking exercise will need to bring us in line with those authorities' fees at the 24-25 prices to reflect the financial pressures we and every other authority across Wales and the UK find themselves under. Full and comprehensive detail of which we outlined for members in Appendix 1, which also shows the magnitude of the impact of this piece of work. The approach to those anomalies are outlined in Section 7, page 59 of your report. Mr. Mayor, before I go to the recommendations, with your permission, I'll bring Liam Hull, our 151 officer, in for a contribution before going through the recommendations, if that's okay. Yep.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Barry. So clearly, the impact of the recommendations in this report link very closely to next week's special council meeting and the setting of a balanced budget. So could I ask if there are any fees and charges that you do not wish to accept the proposal as put forward in front of you today, that you defer that decision rather than reject it so that we can consider it again as part of the wider budget setting process next week? Yeah, and then also while I'm on it, just wanted to thank Adam, and my name is on the top of the report, but very much the majority of the work was done by Adam, and it was a fantastic piece of work.
Absolutely, thank you, Liam. On any amendments, Monitoring Officer, I'm happy to make those amendments rather than we put it up as an amendment and go through the vote, because we just need that little bit of flexibility should there be any.
So just so I understand, if somebody proposes that something be deferred, are you saying that you will agree that it's deferred rather than have a debate about whether it's deferred? Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
So I'll go through the recommendations. 2.1, increasing all cemetery fees by an addition of 3% above inflation be approved. There's an amendment, Mr. Mayor, 2.2. The original recommendation is increased planning fees between 45 and 95.5% above inflation be approved. The amendment reads, increasing non-statutory pre-planning inquiry fees be by between 45% and 95% above inflation be approved. Okay. 2.3, increase some registrar fees by between 4% and 15% above inflation be approved. 2.4, increase some highways and engineering fees by up to 200%. Note that these fees are not incurred by residents. Be approved. 2.5, increase lifeline weekly charge by 40%. Note this includes the cost of a SIM card needed for digital switchover. Be approved. 2.6, maintaining car parking fees and charges at current rates. Be approved. 2.7, maintaining engineering fees and charges for CCTV surveys. Be approved. And 2.8, Mr. Mayor, maintaining licence fees and charges at current rates. Be approved. I move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Second the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions then, please? Councillor Darren Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First question from me. Could I ask who identified that the policy wasn't being adhered to with the fees and charges since it was approved by council? Are we able to give credit to the individual who found that we weren't following protocol on it?
So we
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So I'm not sure there was one individual. It became apparent through this piece of work that was the case. This was a piece of work that had been planned anyway, and it became apparent through that piece of work then.
Thank you, Liam. My second question is in relation to 2.5, the increasing of the Lifeline weekly charges. We discussed this at length at the Labour group, and a 40% increase for the residents that use this service is quite a stark increase. We understand that increases are necessary in some areas, but not at this scale. So in line with what's been said earlier, can we ask for this to be deferred, please?
Councillor Barry?
Yeah, can I ask that the rationale behind that be provided by either yourself, Liam, or Adam before we take that deferment?
Sorry, no.
You
It-
just said that
if-
you were happy to
Yeah,
defer.
I think
Councillor Barry.
either it's
Yeah, you know, no, I
deferred,
understand.
either it's deferred without question, or it's moved as an amendment and we have a debate on it as an amendment, because we can't have a halfway house, or
No, that's
we'll
fine.
get ourselves completely
fine.
confused. So
No, as I said earlier, then happy to defer.
thank you.
Right, thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Roberts? Thank you. Councillor Clive Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to ask a question for clarification. It's on page 68. It's the first of the registrars. It's the third one down. And it says approved premises license for a 3-year period. So I presume there the £60 charge is current. That'll go up to £1,000 covering 3 years, or covering the whole of the 3 years.
Sorry, that was an item that was one cell out on the spreadsheet. If you look at the one below, I think that's £1,000, and that's the one that should have been in that particular cell.
Ah,
So it's remain at £1,000.
right. Well, I'm asking a question. What does he mean by based on site quality? If the council considers that it's not a suitable, I don't know, like an hotel or somewhere, is that what that statement?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Right.
And we benchmarked against other authorities, and there was quite a stark range in charges, and it was all down to the actual premises that was
Right.
being considered.
The quality of the premises. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor James Scriven, then, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the cabinet member again, just one issue I've got. I was reading the papers again through yesterday, and it's just with the cemetery fees. I was hoping could we defer that and probably discuss it a bit more at length as part of the budget proposals, because I've just got some slight concerns about the impact that's going to have on residents, especially going through that process of grieving if we're increasing costs in that area. It's just something I'd like to discuss a bit further and possibly defer that one.
So that would be, which one's that?
2.1.
2.1. Happy to defer. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Any further questions?
David Isaac.
Sorry, it's coming up on my screen. There we go. Councillor David Isaac, you weren't appearing on my screen for some reason. You were there.
That's no problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed, picking up on what Jamie said, that the increase in the cemetery fees by an additional 3% above inflation. Are we aware of what? Oh, right. Okay. 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 That's fine. That's fine.
By the same rule.
Okay.
Thank you then. Any further questions? No comments then, please. Councillor Michelle Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say a huge thanks to the team that worked on this piece of work. The commercial manager, Adam, and the procurement and payments team. This is a massive piece of work that's been undertaken, and we now have a fit for purpose benchmarking system moving forward. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Barry, this will close the debate.
It's just to reiterate what my cabinet colleague has said there, it's a tremendous piece of work, and I think this isn't a one-off for this year. You know, I think that we will see the dividends of this piece of work for years to come, and just to congratulate the guys working on it, particularly Adam and Paul there. So well done, guys.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take it to a vote on all those recommendations apart from the two which have been deferred. Okay.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. And that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So agenda item number 6, Treasury Management Outrun Report 2022 to 23. To consider the report of the Chief Executive, Councillor Andrew Barry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Treasury Management Outturn Report 22-23. This report, Mr. Mayor, talks of the hard edge of financial management and the day-to-day activity of what our Chief Financial Officer and accountancy team deal with, and through Arlington Close, our Treasury Management consultants. And the report is brought in line with the Chartered Institute for Public Finance and Accountancy Code of Practice on Treasury Management. The report itself is Appendix A and talks of the authority's management of our cash flows, banking, money, capital market transactions, such as where the authority borrows and where it invests substantial sums of money. As at the 31st of March 2023, the authority had net borrowing of £98 million. Subsequently, we're exposed to financial risk at any change of interest rates that in the recent climate have been volatile, to say the least. Table 1, page 75, summarises our balance sheet commitments for our capital financing requirement. The Treasury Management position as at Table 2 on the same page. Our borrowing and activity are detailed through sections 4 and 5. As at the 31st of March 2023, the authority held £127 million in loans, an increase of £12 million from 31st of March 2022, with our outstanding loans highlighted in Table 3 at page 77. The report highlights implications such as the Public Works Loans Board changed its lending terms that restricts borrowing for yield. The authority holds investment funds detailed at section 6 and table 4, page 78 to papers. Our performance in our treasury management activities in terms of its impact on our revenue budget is shown at table 5, page 79. Section 9 deals with our Chief Finance Officer's assurance of the authority's compliance with the SIPFA code and investment limits, shown at table 6 and 7, respectively. Infinite detail about treasury management indicators such as interest rate exposure, maturity, structure of our borrowing, and the timelines of our borrowing are dealt with through section 10. Appendix 1 of our Treasury report is the economic background and deals with and acts as a reminder of the turmoil throughout the world economy that eventually finds its way to our doorstep here in Merthyr. It paints the highly volatile picture of where we find ourselves today. The recommendations, Mr. Mayor, 2.1, 2.2, 2.1 being the Treasury Management Outturn Report for 22-23 be received, noted and approved. And 2.2, the actual 22-23 Treasury indicators be received, noted and approved. I move the Outturn Report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gowran-Thomas.
Second report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, please? No, no one is indicating. So are there any comments, please? No, no comments. So we'll take that to a vote then, please.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle Jones, your vote hasn't registered. And then that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item number 7, Treasury Management Mid-Year Report 2023 to 2024. to consider the report of the Chief Executive, and it's Councillor Andrew Barry again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Treasury Management Mid-Year Review Report 2023-24. Before I go into the report, Mr. Mayor, it's Adele's last full council meeting. As you know, she's worked for this authority diligently over the many years she's been with us. She's been the right hand to Steve and now the right hand to Liam, and has performed tremendously. She's always been there with the information you need in a very timely manner, and I will certainly miss, and I know this authority will miss Adele as well. And I'd just like to say and put on record, Mr. Mayor, our thanks to Adele for the work she's done over the years. Okay. This report, the mid-year report, similar report to the previous report covering a period of 22-23 financial year. It takes us to September 23-24 financial year. The report is attached to Appendix 1 and again has the same format as at the 31st of March. The authority within this mid-year report had net borrowing of 127 million. Table 1, this time page 89, summarises the balance sheet commitments for our capital financing requirement. Table 2 on the same page is our Treasury Management Summary. Our borrowing and activity are detailed through sections 4 and 5. As at the 30th of September 2023, the authority held £124 million in loans, a decrease from 31st of March 2023, with our current borrowing position highlighted at table 3, page 90. The authority holds investment funds detailed at section 6 and table 4. Our performance in our treasury management activities in terms of its impact on our revenue budget shown at table 5, with our total borrowing at the 30th of September 2023, 1.058 million. Section 9 deals with our Chief Finance Officer's assurance, again at the half-year stage, in compliance with the SIPFA code, and investment limits shown table 6, table 7. Respectfully. Appendix 1 of our Treasury Management Report is the economic background, again at the half-year position. Although there is more stability in relation to the economic performance and outlook, we are in the midst of a dire financial picture. This time last year, I was reporting comments by John Ray of the Financial Director of the WLGA when describing the Welsh Authority's predicament as being potentially catastrophic, and he wasn't far wrong. The recommendation, just a 2.1 there, Mr. Mayor, is the Treasury Management Half-Year Review Report for 23-24 be received, noted and approved. I move the half-year report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gowran-Thomas.
The second report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, please? No, no one is indicating. So are there any comments then, please? No, no comments. So we'll take that to a vote.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining, please?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining, please?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Brent Carter. I see you chatting. And that's carried. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Galsworthy. That's it. That's it. That's carried then, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next item, agenda item number 8 has been pulled. So we'll move on to agenda item number 9, trade union facility time agreement. Councillor Simmons, are you leaving? Thank you. So item 9, trades union facility time agreement to consider a report of the Chief Executive, and Councillor Andrew Barry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trade union facility time agreement. This report is being brought to full council to request an increase of growth for 5 days of permanent facility time for both unions and and GMB unions. We fully support the work of the trade unions in line with the Social Partnership and Public Procurement Wales Act 2023, and will continue to work and meet in partnership with them when business levels require that support. Back in 2018, this full council approved the release of the full-time Unison Trade Union facilities time unanimously because of financial pressures. In February 2023, due to financial constraints and to support the VR and VAR process, a temporary 5-day facility time for both Unison and GMB unions for a fixed term 6-month period was agreed by full council. Section 3 covers the rationale for union representation that we are all familiar with by now. We will continue to argue the lack of financial contribution by the union, and the £96,630 now being asked for from the council to pay for union representation, adding to the deficit we have to find. We have asked the union about contribution both politically and at officer level, with no contribution forthcoming. I'll take you to the recommendations, and in doing so, say again that this administration are responsible for public funds at a time of economic and financial turmoil throughout the public sector in Wales and the UK. We're about to set one of the most difficult budgets that even long-standing members of this authority have ever set. We will not stop reviewing our operational model when financial year 24-25 is set, but we will continue through next year in preparation for the 25-26 financial year. And it is this continued review that requires the support of the unions, along with the rationale covered in section 3 of the report. Mr. Mayor, I'll take the recommendation 2.1, which is simply the growth required for 5 days permanent trade union facility time for both Unison and GMB be approved. I move, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor David Hughes.
Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions then, please? No, no questions. Any comments then, please? Councillor Darren Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, we're here because we need to have the trade unions on board. We're going through a very robust and painful budget setting process at the moment, where we are looking at the possibility of voluntary redundancies, and we need the trade unions on board. We need them on board now more than ever. So I'm delighted to see this report coming to council this evening to be approved, hopefully, and to reiterate the short-sighted proposals that were put forward previously by the Cabinet, which was quite damningly voted against by not just the Labour group, but other members of the Independent group as well. And those recommendations actually went against officer recommendations. So I'm quite happy to see this, well, more than happy to see this on tonight's agenda, and I will be fully supporting it, as will the rest of my Labour colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor David Hughes.
Will I close the debate then?
No, please.
Yeah, that's all I would ask, that one of the representatives of the union is from neighbourhood services and is one of the officers. Obviously, in the position we are now with the council, I think it's prudent that we fill that post permanently rather than by a year. So I'm asking if the officers would look at it, if we could fill that post, not by a year, but for a long-term report, indefinitely. Yeah.
So we've gone past questions, Councillor Hughes.
Sorry.
Record that as a comment.
Yeah, it was a comment.
Yeah, as you saying that is what you consider needs to happen, and then officers can consider that for future reports.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So are there any further comments? No, so we'll go to a vote then, please.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you, and that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Could someone get Councillor Simmons back from Purgatory, please? So agenda item number 10 is pay policy statement 2023-24 to consider the report of the Chief Executive and Councillor Andrew Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members will recognise the legal requirement to state our annual pay policy statement for 23-24 and can be seen in Appendix 1. The statement will need to be considered, approved and published on the Council's website. The recommendation, quite simply, Mr. Mayor, the pay policy statement 23-24 be approved. I move.
Thank you. Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Second report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, please? No, no questions. Any comments, please? No comments. So we'll take that straight to a vote.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew Barry, are you voting? And that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So next item is agenda item number 11. Council tax premiums on long-term vacant and periodically occupied dwellings. To consider the report of the Chief Executive. I'll just wait for Councillor Jones. Okay, and Councillor Andrew Barry then, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From 2017, local authorities in Wales have had the discretion to charge a premium of 100% on top of the standard rate of council tax on second homes and long-term vacant properties. There are currently 266 second homes and 326 long-term vacant properties in the authority. The authority can make a determination before the beginning of the relevant financial year and must publish any determination in at least one newspaper and clearly the authority social media platforms within 21 days of the date of that determination. The prescribed classes of exempted dwellings are at Appendix 1, with the exceptions detailed at Appendix 2. This also includes the definitions of composite properties mentioned at recommendation 2.3 that cover both second homes and long-term vacant properties. In order to apply the premium to dwellings occupied periodically, second homes, we must make a determination at least 1 year before the beginning of the financial year to which the premium relates. Definitions of the properties under the Act are covered at 3.5 and 3.6 page 81, 181 of your papers. An outline of the influencing factors when considering the charge of a premium are at 4.3, also on page 181, and include numbers and percentages of long-term empty homes in the area, assessment of property values from the impact of long-term empty properties, impact on the local economy and tourism, an impact on the local community. There was a council tax premium consultation report that was originally completed between December 22 and March 23, when this authority took the initial decision on premiums in 23-24. Whilst the legislation allows for a maximum of 300% council tax premium on such properties, we have to be mindful of the effect on our collection rates. The in-year collection rates have seen second homes at 75% and long-term empty properties at approximately 70% in-year. Even at this rate, we have seen a substantial increase in the amounts collected, outlined in more detail at 5.8 on pages 183 and 184. The greater our success in bringing empty properties back into use will mean less revenue generated, but the payoff will be greater impact on homelessness. We have over the past year exercise the application of 100% on second homes and long-term empty vacant properties, and propose a further 12 months at this level, and to exercise exception under Class 8 explained at Appendix 1 to assist new owners of properties undergoing renovation and not to be charged said premium for up to 12 months. Members will remember our commitment to employing a revenue inspector, premiums officer from our core budget. Over the past 10 months in this role has certainly contributed to increase the income from council tax premium and shows our strategic investment in specific roles will pay dividends. An outline of our increased income has been seen at can be seen at 5.8, page 183 of your papers, which is considerable even at current collection rates. Should the recommendation be accepted tonight? Should it be accepted tonight? The recommendations 2.1 to 2.3. 2.1, the charging of 100% council tax premium on Section 12A long-term empty properties that have been empty in excess of 12 months, with effect from the 1st of April 2023, be approved to continue to into the new financial year 24-25. 2.2, the charging of 100% council tax premium on Section 12B periodically occupied second homes was approved by council on the 8th of March 2023, with effective start date 1st of April 2024, be approved into the new financial year 24-25. 2.3, introduce a local council tax exemption Class 8 to assist new owners of properties undergoing renovation and not charge a premium for up to 12 months, and in addition not to charge a council tax premium on the domestic element of qualifying composite properties, be approved. I move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Second report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions then, please? Councillor Jamie Screen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question for the Cabinet member. Do we know if we've looked into other authorities in terms of the premium charge, what figure they've gone with, and whether that's affected their collection rates as well? I'm just curious whether anyone else has gone above the 100% mark and how that's impacted them.
Yes, Jamie. We did that work initially. I think we've got Mark Price with us. Do you want to elaborate on that, Mark?
In answer to your question, yes, the evaluation was done quite a lot this time last year before we actually introduced the premium. It was a bit of an unknown quantity at that time because obviously we've never done it previously. The only authority that I'm aware that this year that have gone straight above 100% is Monmouth for long-term empty properties. RCT did it staged, from 50 through to 150%, it depends on last year. With regard to your question, with regard to the impact upon the overall collection rate, it's probably impactful by about 0.5% at the moment. So, so what that means in real terms is about £170,000, in collectible council tax as we speak at this particular point in time. As we get closer to the end of the financial year, I hope that will reduce. But as I've stated, you're introducing a much higher debit onto the council tax base, so that it is inevitable that you are going to see a reduction in the overall collection rates in year.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is in relation to the premium of 100% on long-term empty properties over a 12 months. Do we know how many properties have come back into use? Because as has just been mentioned by Councillor Barry, we have a homelessness and a housing difficult situation in Merthyr Tydfil. Have we any idea how many properties come back into use in the last 10 months?
12 months or 10 years?
Well, since we increased it to 100%.
Well, with regard to the data that's available, it's as far as those properties that are exempt undergoing renovation, those are just empty for periodically up to 6 months because people move in and out. And for those that we charge in a premium. in answer to your question, no, there has been very little impact, upon it now or previously when we actually introduced and increased the charge from 50% to long-term empty properties in 2019, and then when we actually put a premium on there last year. So as we speak at this particular point in time, the measure is exactly the same within reasonable margins as what it was in 23 and what it was in 2019. So at this present time, no, it has made no difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Gareth Richards, you did have your hand raised, but it's gone down. Did you have a question?
Councillor Jones just asked it, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, he does that, Gareth. Yeah. Councillor Bill Smith, then, please.
Yeah, could somebody tell me the policy on long-term properties over 10 to 15 years? Because I know two outstanding in my brain now is one in Brecon Road and one in Dowlas. Have been empty over 20 odd years. So what's the policy on that?
It's exactly the same. As it stands currently, any property that is deemed to be empty in excess of 12 months can be charged a council tax premium. The property that you're actually referring to in Brecon Road isn't in rating. So regardless of what this was discussed last year, what we charge as a council tax premium, it wouldn't make no difference in that particular property because it was taken out of rating many years ago because of the derelict state that it's in. So we hope in the new year to look into this further when the second home part of this application comes into effect, and we can actually measure how successful that is going to be, and then, because as it was reported here, that it was the guesstimate last year was 70% as regard to the collection rate. That has been achieved, in part by the good work of the officers that we've got within the revenue department. So we haven't put the cost in up greater than what it currently is, because we need to see how successful we're going to maintain these charges and the collection rate, because as the question was already asked by Jamie, that, the higher you're going to be, the greater impact it's going to have on our collection rate. So it is something we will look into in the future, for those long-term empty properties, because as you rightly stated, there are some properties been empty for an excessive period of time.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, so what's the time limit on that then? Because it could be after Christmas, it could be 225 or something like that, because these are empty properties are causing major problems.
With regard to any consultation to put the charge above 100%, then we would have to put it back to the public for consultation purposes.
Well, I know that's not 100%. I'm looking at, as a resident, saying that property's been empty for 20, 30 years, and property's been a nuisance. It's just a mess. It's devaluing the properties around that empty property. So I just wait a time limit now. How are we going to take it forward?
That wouldn't fall within the revenue remit. That would fall within housing and environmental health. So those particular properties would need to be brought to their attention, because there's nothing that I can do within this policy to bring those properties back into use other than to charge the premium as was stated in this policy.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much. But I should go back now to the cabinet member. Look forward and look into it.
It's something we've talked about. It's something we've got to look at, though. We will be looking at it in the new year.
Okay, I think Alan would like to make a comment.
Yeah, the only legislation that's that's available to us is for sale. It's a very, very complex piece of legislation, and to date in the history of the council, there's only been one successful case, which is in the Dowlas ward. But it is really something we need to look at.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Are there any further questions? Councillor Gareth Richards, you got your hand up again.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It's as a result of Bill's question, Councillor Smith's question, really, but perhaps more aimed at Mark with regards to these longer-term empty properties. At what step do you take enforcement action, Mark, if they are not paying their council tax or premiums on these long-term properties?
They would be treated as any other council tax liability. They'll be sent a demand notice, they'll be sent a reminder notice after 3 weeks, file a notice in the following month, or potentially a summons 6 weeks later. And then depends obviously where we go from there. So they would follow the same legislative process as it would for any council tax liability.
And just for the record, Mark, that is occurring?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Richards. So if there are no further questions, we'll move on to comments then, please. Councillor Anna Williams-Price.
Thank you. I'm pleased to see this report as the impact of second homes and particularly Airbnbs within Plymouth Ward is a matter that's often raised with me as a councillor. Residents are concerned that the prevalence of these second homes reduces the supply of housing within a small community. So I welcome these proposals as a means to bring additional income into the council, which will ultimately benefit residents.
Thank you. Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say, I think we've done sterling work really, and Mark in his position in the Revs and Bens are bringing in that money, and he will continue to do so. But as Councillor Smith alluded to, I think we all have problem with empty homes, long-term empty homes through our wards. And I think Councillor Barry give you the confidence that we look into it further for especially the long-term empty properties going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just to make a comment really with regards to, I am aware of some properties locally to me in Treharris where there has been properties actually renovated as a result in the last 12 months and put on the market. So it is having some effect in some quarters, I believe, to bring properties back into use.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? No. So we go to a vote now then, please.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. That's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We're just waiting for Councillor Jones to rejoin us. Okay, and we'll move on to agenda item number 12, Dog Control Public Spaces Protection Order, to consider the report of the Deputy Chief Executive. And it's Councillor Michelle Simmons, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dog Control Public Spaces Protection Order, report author Paul Lewis, who joins us in the chamber this evening. Dog fouling within public places in Merthyr is a persistent problem, and in the 2 years up to October 2023, the council had 171 incidents and complaints of dog fouling logged on its internal reporting system, with the reports of dog fouling covering all 11 council wards. In the last 10 months preceding October 2023, there were 58 reported incidents of dog fouling within the county borough. Anecdotal evidence would, however, suggest that the majority of dog fouling instances go unreported. On the basis that dog fouling is a county borough-wide problem, it is proposed that the dog fouling element of the PSPO will cover all public spaces throughout the county borough. An open and public consultation will need to be undertaken. At the conclusion of the consultation period, responses will be considered and a further report put to council to consider whether or not to impose a PSPO. The timelines of this activity is outlined at point 5 on next steps. It is prudent to note that the financial implications, which are outlined at point 6, these are not only included costs for publications and signage, but the enforcement of any proposed order will be critical to its success. The authority currently have SPF-funded community safety wardens who can be tasked to police any orders up until the conclusion of their funding that's being projected until March 2025. In order to continue enforcement post-April 2025, additional funding will be required. Potential funding may be available to secure wardens for town centre related matters. However, the majority of dog related nuisance occurs outside the boundaries of the town centre. That said, should a PSPO be made, then any revenue generated through fixed penalty notices will be retained by the council. Additionally, this report and its content has been discussed at length, and Cabinet are agreed that resource needs to be found for the ongoing success of this PSPO post April 2025. There is one recommendation, and that is that a statutory and public consultation be undertaken on the proposal to introduce a county borough-wide PSPO to reduce dog waste nuisance in the county borough of Merthyr Tydfil be approved. I've moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Julia Jenkins.
Can I second that, please, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions then, please? No, there are no questions. Are there any comments? Right. Sorry, Councillor Salmon, you're not. Yeah, there you go. Just popped up on my screen now. There we go.
Wasn't late enough. I do apologise. Question for Paul and Cabinet member as well, maybe. I would say that both dog fouling and littering are a problem throughout the borough of Merthyr Tydfil. Was it ever considered to have littering as part of a PSPO? And if so, if not, why?
Councillor Salmon, if I can clarify, in terms of littering, we don't need to introduce a public space protection order. It's already within legislation that we can fine people for littering, so an order is not required for that. In relation to dog fouling, unfortunately, the legislation was repealed that made it an automatic offence. And now we need to bring a public space protection order in order that you can criminalise that behaviour. So the intention is moving forward with the wardens that they will look at littering in addition to dog fouling, but we don't need to bring an additional order in to control the littering element.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gibbs, did you have a question?
No, Mr. Mayor, I put my hand up because you asked for comments. So I'll come back in when you're ready on comments.
Okay, I think Councillor David Jones has got a question before we go to comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following on from Councillor Salmon's question, were there any other PSPOs considered? The one that's coming to my mind is open alcohol containers in the public place.
Yes, we look in terms of community safety, we look at all intelligence trends across the county borough, and we do look, and we have looked previously at an alcohol ban. However, what we have found is within the town centre. I know, Councillor Jones, you've spoken with the team about your concerns with alcohol consumption, and I think looking at trend data, CCTV, etc., drug taking is a greater problem than alcohol consumption in the town centre. So in terms of proportionality at this stage, we don't think it would be prudent to go ahead with a PSPO on alcohol, and more the drug issues within the town centre need to be tackled.
I think the two issues go hand in glove. This alcohol and drug use. But I'd like you to come to some of our packed meetings, especially the town centre packed meeting, and listen to the concerns of residents who have to put up with that on a daily basis. So if you get somebody to come, one of your officers to come to those meetings, I'd appreciate that as well, please.
Yep, we'll do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lisa Mitton, please.
Mr. Mayor, Paul, just a couple of things. Just a very quick note for you. At 5.1, the fourth bullet point says Council will determine in August 2024. I think inevitably that will be September because of summer recess. But with regards to actually, and I guess it is plucking this out of the air, but actually physically policing this. You know, if you think about outside of town ward, the other wards and their rurality in some respects, especially, I guess this would cover the Taff Trail, I imagine. So, you know, how are we physically going to be able to do that? It would take an army of wardens, I firmly believe, you know, and because of the increase of dog ownership since COVID as well. So, you know, I'd just like your thoughts on that.
Yes, it will be a challenge. I mean, the fact we haven't got an order at all at the moment provides no deterrent. I think bringing an order in and publicising that it is actually an offence to do so is one element. In terms of the wardens, yeah, it's a huge area to cover, and it will be intelligence led and obviously deploying the officers where there's most need. As you correctly point out, the areas with the greatest concern are rural areas where people dog walk. So yeah, they will be the primary focus. And I think, as with any enforcement, it's how we publicise the fact that we're doing it. The fixed penalty notice that will be issued and subsequent prosecutions for non-payment will all prove to be a deterrent. So it will be small steps to start. I'm not promising an army on the streets. So it will be intelligence-led. It will be focused on the areas of highest impact. But as with any order, what we hope to do is engage and explain. And obviously with the wardens, what we would seek to do in the first element of this is to arm them with dog poo bags and ask the individuals to collect it there and then, rather than go to ticketing straight away. So again, it's that culture change in terms of individuals who are breaching the legislation. But ultimately, yes, it will be FPNs and court if necessary.
No, thank you. And I welcome the point you made about the culture change, but can we include in the culture change that picking it up and using a dog poo bag does not mean then hanging it on a lovely tree for the dog fairies to come along and pick it up. So I do welcome that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor David Isaac.
Yes, thank you. At 6.3, it should be noted that should a PSPO be made, any revenue generated through fixed penalty notices will be retained by the council. Is there any ideas or any consideration to put this money back into dog poo bins for the wards?
In terms of what the money is used for, yes. I mean, the ideal scenario would go back to tackle the problem that the penalty was issued for. For myself, first and foremost, it would be to make sure that I can continue to have an enforcement body going forward. But I wouldn't want to sell this scheme as it's a fixed penalty revenue stream. That's not what we're looking for as a council. We're looking to change behaviours. So, you know, for me, I would like to see no income coming in from fixed penalty notices and no dog mess. But if there are fixed penalty notices being issued and paid for, selfishly, I would look to maintain the officers I've got on the ground enforcing. But yeah, you know, if the revenue streams were there, we could look at additional dog bins, etc., working with our colleagues in neighbourhood services.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gareth Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For you, Paul, it is. It's a lead on from what Councillor Mitten said regarding the enforcement. Obviously, provided a lot of evidence is often provided by other residents. For example, CCTV footage, which cannot be used now without the orders in place, my understanding is. So obviously this would, provided its evidential value is okay, that could be used in the future going forward, whereas it's not used now.
Yeah, in terms of CCTV footage, I mean, ideally, if a member of the public was able to come forward and provide a witness statement, ultimately, we've got to look as an authority that the case could end up in court. So we have to look at what evidence we can present in front of a court. Yes, CCTV evidence can be used, but again, we'd be reliant on our police colleagues for identity of the individuals. The footage will show the incident happening, but obviously we need somebody to say that is Mr. X of X Street. So again, we have to look long term that any fixed penalty notice issued will stand up in scrutiny to court. And obviously I do appreciate for members of the public providing that evidence is challenging. So that's where our bodies on the ground with body cams and recording the evidence themselves, that provides us with best evidence to take legal action.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I thought that would be the case, but obviously sometimes residents are prepared to identify, they know who the person is.
And great, I welcome those coming forward.
Yes, yeah, but obviously it can't be taken forward now because the order isn't in place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? No, so we'll move on to comments, and then Councillor Kevin Gibbs was first then, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say I welcome this report coming in. It's just a shame it's taken this independent administration 18 months after the Labour group put in a notice of motion to bring this in 18 months ago. But I do welcome this report today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? No, so we'll go to a vote then, please.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle Jones? Thank you, that's carried, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So item number 13 is an information report. Item number 14, to deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. There is no urgent business. Item 15.
Move section 100, please, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrew Barry.
Second, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have a vote on that. Yeah. Yes, so we can take a vote on that, please.
Councillor Gareth Richards, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Gibbs, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Jones? And that's carried, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just wait for Democratic to confirm that the recording stopped. Okay, you okay to carry on? Recording stopped. Okay.